there are times throughout an NBA season where you watch a regular season game, or, you look forward to a regular season game that you know is going to be a good matchup. And I'm not going to say very rarely does it live up to the hype, but the Cavaliers and the Oklahoma City Thunder game tonight, that game lived up to the hype. Two teams, both the number one seed in each of their conferences, on pace for 70 wins. Oklahoma City coming in on a 15-game winning streak. Cavaliers coming in on a 10-game winning streak. 31-4 going into the game. Now 32-4 after winning 129-122 tonight. And this, like I said, this game lived up to the hype. There's very few times, I remember, it's very rare you get a matchup like this. This felt like, for real, this felt like a finals game. The intensity, both teams were competing, all those cliches, but on top of that, you have the elite shot making, you have the star players, you have the role players showing up. This game really showcased the two best teams in the NBA so far this season. And I'm thinking back to 2015-16, where the Warriors were obviously when they were on pace to win 73 games or whatever. The Spurs were actually a little bit behind the Warriors, keeping pace with them, if you remember from that season. And their matchup in that January of that year, this is a long time ago, but in January of that year, the Warriors and the Spurs played. And that game, it was hyped. It was being promoted and all that stuff going into the game, I remember. Even though it wasn't on national TV. It was on League Pass. But the Warriors blew out the Spurs. And then later on in the season, both teams played again. The Warriors at that point were 62-7, and the Spurs were 59-10, and the Spurs won that game barely. It was a low-scoring game. But this particular game tonight had everything. Like I said, elite shot making, role players from each team playing great, defensive schemes. It was a 129-122 game, and I felt like there were stretches where both teams were playing elite defense. It was either each team scored because it was execution or elite shot making, which, elite teams like these two execute all the time. And it was just really fun. And, in wake of all this conversation, I'll do a separate video rant on it or whatever, but all this pointless and needless bitching and complaining and conversation about ratings and is the game itself fun and all that stuff. I was watching some fire-ass games in the last week. Really, I'm going to save that for another video. I want to focus on this game tonight because it really did showcase two of the best teams in the NBA. But my overarching point is we've just been seeing some fire-ass games, man. One of my friends who is a Sacramento Kings fan, but not necessarily an NBA at-large fan. He's a sports fan, but he doesn't follow hoops. He admits he's a casual fan in that sense, unless obviously he's a hardcore Kings fan and he's watching the Kings. But he tuned into the game tonight, and I was like, yes. I have to give ESPN credit, man, because, they've been getting a lot of shit, deservedly so, because of how the league is marketed now and all that stuff, and how the game's talked about with talking heads on national TV. What are the topics of interest to talk about? Theirs might be a little different from what maybe I would want and what have you, although there is shows like NBA Today that try to fill the void and cover the whole league and stuff like that. But talking heads in general, they actually did a good job promoting this game this week, promoting the fact that both these teams, despite being in small markets, have awesome young players. Gilgeous-Alexander, probably the MVP frontrunner right now, slightly ahead of Jokic. You have the Cavaliers, who have 4 all-star players. Yes, the Cavaliers deserve to have every one of their big 4 on the all-star team. And everybody showed out tonight. And then you also got elite schemes and scheme changes. I mean, the Thunder, trapped Donovan Mitchell all the time or made him go one-on-one going against Lou Dort and Cason Wallace, and they had a bad game. And Mitchell, shot poorly, and then the Cavaliers problem solved. And then you have Darius Garland and Evan Mobley and Jared Allen kind of slamming the door in the fourth quarter. So let's start with, right off the bat, it was very clear this game was going to be good. Even though Shai Gilgeous-Alexander didn't shoot well in the first half, he was keeping his foot on the gas. The Cavaliers started off making some threes. Then the Thunder started buckling down defensively. There were 30 lead changes in this game. And really the story is the bigs played well, and the Cavaliers bench for key stretches in the game were a little bit better than the Oklahoma City Thunder supporting cast. Max Strus and Ty Jerome both coming off the bench, making an impact. Strus was 5 of 6 from 3 and made some big threes as the Thunder were pulling away. The highest lead the Thunder got, I believe, was 4, and that was early on in the third quarter where Kenny Atkinson called a quick timeout. The Cavaliers, before the fourth quarter, their biggest lead to that point was also 4. Like I said, 30 lead changes, guys. This game was just awesome. I'm going to try to mix in some analysis here and there, but you know how when you're watching a game, it felt like, especially because, I have some buddies in Cleveland and stuff like that, and I'm texting them and, I'm checking the Twitters and all that stuff. And everybody just loved this game. It was like watching a game with the homies, and I just want to talk, just shoot the shit about this game. But there were so many good things about this game. And then on the Oklahoma City Thunder side, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's shot making in the second half was ridiculous. Cason Wallace doing a great job guarding Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell while giving 15 points. Isaiah Joe even had a few big threes in there. Aaron Wiggins had 11 points off the bench again, just seemingly always in double digits when it comes to scoring, Aaron Wiggins. And then, even the second bananas, Jalen Williams had 25 points, and he was a menace in transition and on the defensive end, getting steals. There was one layup that he had where he was going so fast, he flew into the crowd. And of course that led to a Cavs bucket. It really has been an epidemic the last 10 years of players just going in, crashing to the floor, and either making the layup or barely missing it, but they're still on the ground. And then the other team just easily scores because you're taking your time getting back up, or you can't get up quick enough. But Jalen Williams was just a menace on the defensive end and in transition. Isaiah Hartenstein. And you forget the Thunder are doing all of this shit without Chet Holmgren. Isaiah Hartenstein has slid in perfectly. 18, 11, and 8. Dribble handoffs, hitting backdoor cutters, playing some great defense on the other end, protecting the rim, although he did get in foul trouble in the first half, hitting his patented floater. And speaking of bigs, by the way, the world got to see Evan Mobley, and Evan Mobley in the midst of his leap this year. 21, 10, and 7. And in the fourth quarter, him and Jared Allen were crucial. Offensive rebounds down the stretch. That one key possession, it was with a minute 19 left. Evan Mobley takes a end of the shot clock 3 after getting an offensive rebound off of a Jared Allen missed free throw, by the way. The Thunder just could not get the offensive rebound. Mobley takes a desperation 3 at the end of the shot clock. Jared Allen, of course, is fighting on the boards, and the ball gets tipped in the air, and Donovan Mitchell grabs the rebound. The ref calls a foul on Mitchell because he apparently pushed off Lou Dort. It kind of looked like a push-off, but it wasn't. Overturned. Cavs ball. Mobley comes in on that possession, drives at Hartenstein's chest, floater. And that's been kind of the story with Evan Mobley this year. His swagger, but not just his swagger, his shot-making ability has improved, but his physicality has improved. Remember in the playoffs 2 years ago where the Knicks absolutely pushed around Jared Allen and Evan Mobley? And there wasn't a lot of that last playoffs, but you could just tell this year. And if you disagree with me, then we just see two completely different things. But Evan Mobley is clearly playing with an elevated level of confidence, swagger, and knowing that he is stronger than a lot of dudes in the NBA, and he could just power right through someone's chest for a finish. Special player. And then Jared Allen, of course, he also had 25, 11, and 6. You can't, it's interesting, right? Because obviously both of these teams are elite, but one team did have a crisper execution of the game plan. And I remember in my video I did a few weeks ago where I was just reacting to the week of the NBA and the Cavaliers where like 28 and something. And I said in that video that the thing with the Cavaliers offense is now with Mobley's elevated game, Jared Allen's role becomes easier. Darius Garland's, bounce back this year. The way Kenny Atkinson has empowered him, and he's kind of bounced back after having an injury-riddled year last year. There's just too many ways the Cavaliers can execute offense. And sometimes I can't imagine as a defense trying to predict where the offense is going to be initiated from. Is it going to be a Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen pick and roll? By the way, Kenny Atkinson, and it's been talked about a lot, once again, putting Jared Allen and Darius Garland together in staggered lineups and Donovan Mitchell and Mobley together in staggered lineups, kind of different from what the Cavs did under the previous regime where it was flip-flopped. But it has unlocked different parts of their game. And together on the floor together, it's just something special because you saw the Thunder kept trying to either trap Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, or if Donovan Mitchell was catching it on the move, Lou Dort was going to be there to match his physicality and absorb the bump that Mitchell loves to do when he drives because he's strong. And then Cason Wallace is more rangy, and Donovan Mitchell did outmuscle him a few times on a few fouls. Mitchell got a few free throws. I remember there was a drive in the first half where Mitchell, powered through Cason Wallace. But the Cavaliers were able to problem solve that. And in the past, that was kind of the kryptonite. I saw a clip where George Niang, he was talking to the Cavaliers local broadcast after the game, and he mentioned that. And that was the thing that stuck out to me immediately. But because Evan Mobley has leveled up and Jared Allen has leveled up, the Cavaliers can beat you in a lot of different ways, man. And then Ty Jerome coming off the bench this year and just having these scoring spurts where he is apparently unguardable. And look, he was truth be told, before his injury, Ty Jerome kind of had some offensive game to him. But everybody got to see the two best teams in the NBA. They got to see every player that makes the team click in the way that they click, from the superstars to the role players to the coaches, etc. And we got a hell of a game out of it. And it is very rare when a game like this, a game of this caliber, meets the hype. The refs were out of the way. We didn't even have like one of those bullshit 5-minute reviews where it takes the flow out of the game or whatever. We didn't have any bad calls. I thought the refs actually had a good balance of letting these two teams play with some physicality and then, legislating what contact they weren't going to let you get away with. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 2 of those hand in the cookie jar fouls that everyone bitches about, but it's clearly a foul. You can hate it all you want, but if you have your hand on somebody's shooting arm and that player raises up to shoot with his shooting arm while the defender has his hand on your shooting arm, it's a foul. Is that player trying to make the shot? 95% of the time, no, he's not. But we have seen this foul for the last 25 years, going back to Kobe and then Kevin Durant when Phil Jackson was bitching about that type of rip-through foul, although it was a little bit different back then. It's a foul. But either way, there was only 2 of those calls that Shai got. The game was called cleanly. No long reviews. Both teams were getting after it defensively. There was that stretch in the fourth quarter where the Cavs went to zone. They were switching in and out of zone, and the Thunder were just turning the ball over. But even then, after that Jared Allen block, that led to a Donovan Mitchell 3 to put the Cavs up 7. Oklahoma City, like the Cavaliers and the Celtics, those contender teams, you got to stomp them out until the clock hit 0. And they were back in it within 1 possession. And the Cavaliers kept executing because they're the best offensive team in the NBA. By the way, By the way, the Cavaliers dropped 129 points on the best rated defense of the last 7 years. I went back and looked at it. The Thunder's defensive rating going into this game was like 103.2 or something like that. And that was the lowest it was since the 2019-20 season with the Milwaukee Bucks, I believe. So yeah, this Cavs team is special, man. And the Thunder, they're special too. They don't even have Chet Holmgren back yet. But as far as the Cavs go, this win has to feel good. This was a true, like in every sense of the word, a measuring stick game. It lived up to the hype. They executed down the stretch. Darius Garland closed them out as well. And these two teams play again next week. Let's fucking go.